So went to I attended. I didn't actually get a chance to attend the summit, but I got down there and I got a chance to build with some people though. And that kind of inspired today's live. We're gonna see some things. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna draw up some things. By just Don Bishop. I see you in here already. But we got to draw up some things about the future. Like it was kind of a main question that kept coming up with the various people that I was building with. About exactly how things is going to be. What, how do we move forward on a lot of things? Just this. You know what I'm saying? Shakanulu was the deal. We got the West Coast edition. In our West Coast timing. Not for nothing. But they're gonna have to pass some laws about AI. Like I'm just that's one of the reasons why I was late coming on is because I was just watching some artificial intelligence and I just saw Martin Luther King shoplifting. I'm saying, something is definitely wrong with that. Before we get into the live stream, there's that part. I got sincere, what's the deal? I don't know if anyone else has gotten the opportunity, man, to see some of the crazy stuff that they have. Some of the stuff is literally uh, like, well, it's not the AI that's good or bad. The artificial intelligence itself is the people that's using it. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff, like I saw people with kind of like a alternative outcome to the accident with Kobe Bryant and his daughter and the other people that was on there. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that is like, come on. There's I'm saying within the framework of capitalism, there's they got to exercise some laws here, some property rights or something. King was the deal. So yeah, like I said, I was at the conference. I didn't get a chance to go inside, but building with a lot of brothers. Really in the last, I would say at least in the last month or so, we're, a lot of it comes down to, you know, how we gonna break it down step by step. How we gonna get from knowledge to born step by step. See, because a lot of times that's what happened, right? We say we taking things from knowledge to born, but see, there's a fine line, right, between you saying that, uh, between you saying that from a mathematical perspective and you saying that from a religious perspective. Divine understanding. A lot of times, when people come together to do something, right? There's like pep talking involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talking about, how great the science of mathematics is, and how great Allah is for making the science manifest and everything, but then you don't, like what's the actionable steps? You know what I'm saying? So, what they did right there, that conference, right, was great because it laid down a foundation right there. You know what I'm saying? Untitled Truths. Welcome to the channel. That's a unique name. Almighty knowledge. But a lot of times we we don't understand, where the forum is. Like, for them even to establish that as a forum, right, where people from all over the nation, what I'm saying, came together just to meet minds. You know what I mean? Because there's a certain science to that, that even, look, it manifested itself in a certain way, right? About how some things will happen, right, when we meet minds that won't happen, what I'm saying, if we not walking and talking together. You know what I'm saying? Original seed. I was building with P Almighty, right? We was just, not no high science or nothing. So he tells me something that's humorous. Now P Almighty, he got the knowledge 30 something years after me, right? But then Eileen walks in, right? So he had the knowledge about 20 something years before me. You know what I'm saying? So when he comes in, when Eileen comes in, I tell him what P Almighty just told me. So now we all start building, right? So then as we build it, I bring up that, this situation reminds me of something that y'all always said that, Allah used to say, right? Or that Allah said, you know. And then he was like, yeah, God, that's right. Allah did say that. And then he started expanding on it, you know what I mean, with P Almighty. Just to say that, see, if me and P Almighty was building, right, that probably never would have came up. And if it did, it wouldn't have had the same impact, right, as, now you hearing it from somebody who was there when that was said. You see what I mean? And by the same token, if just me and Eileen was building, that probably wouldn't have came up. It wouldn't have been an opportunity, right, for P Almighty to learn it in that fashion. You know what I'm saying? Some things is just a matter of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, with anything, you know what I'm saying? If you got hydrogen over here and you got oxygen over here, right? It's not going to be water. In order for that reaction to occur, they got to be around each other. Supreme Man said the team we were supposed to play called an hour before the game and said they wasn't coming. See, that's just. But wait a minute, did they not show up because of the rain, the bad weather, or is it that they already know? See, for the people that's tuning in that don't know, Supreme Man is a he's the Bill Belichick of Little League football. he's a he's a Bill Belichick of Little League football. So he's been torturing the little kids out there that's on the other teams. You know, they just come in to have fun, but they don't know what it's like until they go against a Bill Belichick coach team. Jigga 10-17. You said why I don't acknowledge 10-10-64. I mean, there's actually quite a few reasons, but up at the top of the list is that I know people that had the knowledge before 10-10-64. I would say that's that's but yeah, that's a long story. This, the all of, if I was to go list through all the reasons, but that's up at the top of the reason. And then when you say, how do I see the nation's universal born date? I mean, well, for me, it would always be, what you counting from. Nah, it's a little bit. It's like it's a little bit extra windy out there, Supreme Man. They might didn't want to have them on the road in the bus. Is it? That's how it was when I played. We used to go to the field, and then it was a bus that take us to the wherever. If we wasn't playing on our own field, it'd be a bus that take us to the place. Oh, this is Wise Bezos, Untitled Truths. Yeah, I don't know, Wise. I wanted to do a panel. I wanted to do a panel show, but so far, because I wanted to be men and women on the panel, but so far I don't have no women to be on the panel. So we could discuss this topic. You said Saturday. So you saying that the weather was perfect and they just didn't show up. I told you, man, they heard about the legend of Belichick. They know not to show up. But yeah, though, getting back to what was fantastic about the brothers having that conference, you know what I'm saying, and just establishing a forum. You know what I mean? Because, getting back to the title of the live stream, you know what I'm saying? Getting back to the title of the live stream is that uh the brothers whose time it is right now is gonna have to take things to the pinnacle. They're gonna have to, I'm talking about the way they use supreme mathematics. You know what I'm saying? Like, as we was there and I'm building with the people, I realized that, yo, you know something? It's a whole other set of things, you know what I'm saying, that these brothers is chosen to do. You know what I'm saying? That they chose themselves to do. Like we all got, you know, a particular, you know, we all doing the same thing, but we all got a particular role that we playing. You know what I'm saying? We all got a particular duty. And you know, that was one of the things that became obvious to me too. You know what I'm saying? Just from, you know, you hear a lot of young brothers and you know things that they want to do. You know, some of them untraditional, some of them, you know what I'm saying, you know, uh, is you know, that's just a different set of circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Like even doing the knowledge to, you know, you got various people coming from various parts of the country. You know what I'm saying? At the least, I don't know if it was any of the, you know, brothers from outside of the country that came, but you know, you could just tell that you know what was the most urgent concerns. Uh, you know something? I thought about that, but I don't know. I, I don't know. I don't know, Wise Bezos, if we necessarily want to go that route. You said, should I throw 1010 in the trash or accept no said birth date? We have no beginning or ending. I mean, I would throw it. You know, I don't use it. It's not factual. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's ceremonial. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that, you know, even from, you know what I'm saying, the like the law is outside. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows people. You know what I'm saying? He's on 125th Street. You know what I'm saying? He's mingling amongst the people. You know what I'm saying? He's got connections. He's telling people. You know what I'm saying? He's building with people. You know what I mean? It's not like something where uh you know he went down to City Hall, right, and filled out a paper. You know, and on that paper it got a date right there, right, where you could say this is the date right here. You know what I'm saying? At least that's how I draw it. You know, but definitely, you know, by that date 1010, you know, there's a lot of people that already got the knowledge. He said, how does the space and time that we learn this knowledge in affect our understanding? If there's a level of consistency that is consistent with the way we are taught. Wait, hold on. How does the space and time that we learn this knowledge in affect our understanding? If there's a level of consistency that is consistent with the way well, we got different experiences. You know what I'm saying? We got different backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? You know, we evolve, you know, all these other variable things too. See, that's the science of mathematics, right? Instead of us just having a belief, you understand what I'm saying? The science of mathematics, we got to be able to identify what's the knowledge and what's the wisdom and be able to make calculations on the spot. You know what I'm saying? You know, now you correct in terms of, you know, we shouldn't have different knowledge and wisdom. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't have zero in the front of your supreme mathematics. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have 150 degrees, in terms of the knowledge and wisdom. But, you got to remember that all of that is a lot of things that's changed. Like, see, right now, you got the internet, right? That is affecting reality. That didn't even exist, not on the military had it, but, on the consumer level, the internet didn't even exist when I had it. You see what I mean? So this is one of the things that I'm saying, like, these are the things that people is going to have to deal with in this day and time, right? Where I didn't even have to stretch my mind, right? I didn't have to stretch my thoughts to think about what people was doing on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got various people out there, that they got things to say about us, positive and negative. Some justified, some are not, some not justified. You know what I'm saying? All of those is a difference in reality. Even how you get exposed to the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like now, when people come around, for the most part, they've already heard the concept that man is God. When I got the knowledge, I never heard that before. I have no idea how, and like over the years, after I got the knowledge and I found out the various places where the gods used to maintain, I've learned that a lot of times where I was resting at wasn't that far from where the gods used to be. And somehow I never heard, I never heard that. Like I knew, there was people that wore the crowns and all of that, and they talked a certain way, but I didn't know what they were saying. Now when people hear it, it's it's not as odd of a concept. You know what I'm saying? Even though you hear it, more in an entertainment type of way. But I'm saying, like, you even got Drake now that calls himself the sixth God. I'm saying, you know, and so, certainly that's had an impact. You know what I'm saying? Just you being exposed to this, pop culture 5%, right? And you know, uh, not not walking amongst the true and living, in a way where you learn that it actually is rules to this. It actually is a way that you do this right and a way that you do this wrong. You know what I'm saying? Or let's say ways that you do this right and ways that you do this wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because it ain't like it's one way, like you gotta follow this way, but we know that uh, it's things that's gonna lead you to right and it's things that's gonna leave you stuck in hell. You said, isn't the 1010 always said that's when firstborn prince got the knowledge? Yeah, that's people say that, but look, God Supreme said he has the knowledge in the spring. I think he said he had the knowledge like in March or April. I would have to ask him again. I really prefer not to, but uh uh so if Prince taught him and he had the knowledge in the spring, that's kind of, I mean, if we're going to stick with the rules that we have, right, where there's no mysterious God and, time is a linear sequence of events that travels in one direction, then we would have to say that, we would have to find that suspicious in the words of Dr. Umar. So would you go back to late 63 or early 64? I mean, I've heard people, or when Allah started teaching, yeah, he was teaching the whole time. So you gotta remember it was, old man Willie and people that he knew, Yammy, there was other people that was around, he's speaking. You know what I'm saying? Uh uh you know, I hear people saying that about 63, but I don't know that tree. That who's the people, where's the people that had the knowledge in 63? In terms of a lot of teaching, yeah, that's 63. But you took about, 1010, they using that to say it's the birth record of the nation. That's what I don't agree with. See, a lot of that's the pop culture history. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even say the pop culture history, uh, because a lot of that stuff is that stuff that at least at one time, you was learning that when you first got to knowledge. Well, not that 1010. That's like the late 90s, mid 90s. They start talking about that. You know, Look, that's another decision y'all gonna have to make. I see that, just in the air, right? When I say y'all, right, I just mean the people who is this is their time. You know what I'm saying? To be the sole controllers of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? The people that's out there in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Cause see, like if people say, when uh, a lot of things that you're gonna move into, like I don't even, that's what I'm saying. See, we all had our job to do, right? We all got our job to do. So what I'm saying is that right now, a lot of times you will have young brothers that they'll be coming up and they'll be saying like, yo, y'all the old brothers got to do this and got to do that. No, we don't. We did what we were supposed to do. That's how they got it. Now, whatever is this new visions that you seeing, that's the stuff you got to do. We could you know tell you about uh we could be wise counsel. But see, like you just asked the question about the time and the space. We not in the time and the space. So even it could be just a simple situation of you know you're you're in another part of the country or another part of the world, right? And you asking me, how you gonna get this point across to the people over there? How am supposed to know? See, I'm not from the time and the place, like the same things, you know what I'm saying? Like right now, uh, things that people think is dope, right? I don't think that's dope. Right? So if I'm not identifying with the people on that level, how you gonna really come to the people as the people like we saying? See, that's what I mean by you gotta be able to use the supreme mathematics to decode what it is that you're dealing with. See, you gotta know what's the foundation. You gotta know who's the head. See, that's how you really gotta start breaking these things down. You see what I mean? You gotta know where's the knowledge and where's the wisdom, right? You gotta know. Look, if this is something that is negative or whatever it might be, that I'm not dealing with it, right? But you gotta know how to choose the best part. Whatever it is that you having whatever experience, or you coming in tune with whatever person. You know what I'm saying? What is it that at the very least you're supposed to be learning from that? You know what I'm saying? From everything from uh, you know, matters of the knowledge, because I did kind of skip over my point right there, is, in the like uh people are gonna have to make a decision, rather not, what are gonna be the things that you're gonna let be the stumbling blocks. See, you got a couple of little things that people going back and forth about, is it this, is it that? Like, that's going to make a big difference. That's a decision, you know, that's going to have to be made. Like, is that something that you see is that urgent that we gotta handle that before we get to the devil? And don't get me wrong, there is things that have to be handled, right? Because you can't think about dealing with the outside, right? If you got certain elements, man, of disharmony on the inside. See what I'm saying? If you got traders on your side, right? And see, by traders, I mean TARDERS and TRAITORS. See what I'm saying? Because see, when the trader make the inter-orientation, right? He got to make the inter-orientation with somebody on your side too. It's not just the trader. It's not just the trader that came from Europe. That's the problem. It's the trader that's down with you. See, it's the person that comes up to you and say, "Hey, look, we just made this deal, right? So look, you gonna go with them for a couple of months. We got these. We got these tables. We got these tables. We gonna politic with these over here. You know what I'm saying? You got some guns or whatever, but look, you just take one for the team, and then you come right back. See that guy too. You gotta get rid of that guy. You gotta get rid of that guy before you interact with this person over here, because you already see what he did. But we got to be able to separate and say, okay, look, we talking about a trader here, or we talking about just something insignificant that people was getting caught up in. You said Willie and Yami. Nah, those was other people. The people you mentioned right here, right? Justice, Shaheed, Rasul, the firstborn, all of that. That's us. But he had other people. That guy used to play dice. And those people that he played dice with, they knew he was Allah. They knew his name was Allah. That he's from the neighborhood. He's from around there, guy. Yes, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, Willie, that was one of his people, one of his friends that I knew the best. You know what I'm saying? I'm just that, he still was around, and he was still very vocal about his experiences with Allah, and the things that he learned about Allah, or he learned from Allah. You know what I'm saying? And they used to be on this. Used to be like a shoe shine stand over there across the street, and they used to maintain over there. You know what I'm saying? You know, one of old man Willie's, uh, heroic accomplishments. Old man Willie was a hero in World War II, and he had got a medal pinned on him by Charles de Gaulle, who was the president. He became the president of France. I know he was a general, I think, in World War II. But at any rate, uh, old man Willie got the he got his reward straight from Charles de Gaulle. You know what I'm saying? And Yami was another brother that I don't know if he had been in the mosque, but he was dealing with Islam. You know what I'm saying? And he also was he was out, dealing with the young kids, you know what I'm saying, where you had people like the firstborn who already had names like Kareem and Al Jabbar, et cetera, because they was having experience with people who was dealing with Islam, you know what I'm saying, whether they was in the mosque or not, you know what I'm saying, for various reasons. So those people, uh, to my knowledge, like I said, from what I know from conversations with old man Willie and a couple of other brothers that used to be over there on the shoe shine stand, you know what I'm saying? Allah was saying this, the whole time, as he's coming to the realization, but it's the babies that, took absorbed it. Born Allah. So there was a time when we said the nation was born October 16th. Now we're claiming the 10th. To be honest, I find it hard to declare that event to a specific date. It's more of a time period. Right, that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Is that, various people, the firstborn, those was brothers that absorbed it. You know what I'm saying? They absorbed it the best. So who got knowledge in one sitting? Are we saying that Black Messiah got the knowledge the first time he met or spoke to Allah? Well, they got a whole story. They got a whole story behind that. You know, uh, you know, uh, I remember the era when all of that kind of like I said, like, you know, the mid 90s when people start asking all these kind of questions like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, see what I'm saying is that the same people they talking about that they heard all that from, they never told me that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know why they decided to leave me out. I, you know, it's shit. I still spread knowledge amongst my circle who's uncivilized and don't or won't accept the knowledge and mockingly joke, peace God, but who have always accepted me and sit back. Yeah, I would say uh, a lot of those brothers though was more uh, they was a little more than that. Like it was people that could quote lessons. You know what I'm saying? Like there was people that, you know, if you was talking to them, you know what I'm saying, and you was a young brother, you would think I was the older guy. You know, he had an impact on everybody. You know what I'm saying? You know, you gotta remember it's things that's happening. You know what I'm saying? It's not happening in a vacuum where only we seeing it. The whole Harlem sees Mayor Lindsay come up there and all the things that happened with the 5%ers and stopping the riots, you know what I'm saying, in their vicinity. You know what I'm saying? That's in the New Yorker. That's a you know, at one time that was a national publication. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't like, you know, Allah had a veil around him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, you know, he's scared to tell people what he's saying. He's outside. You said, what date do I attribute the beginning of the nation? I mean, yeah, that's it. And you know, like when you ask me that, right? It's like, yeah, that's the first. I don't really conceive of that even. Like, it's not nothing. It's not a date that I ever was looking for. You know what I mean? So I would put it in the category that we used to say back in the days that people was looking for the beginning that never began. You know what I'm saying? Like if you looking to pinpoint this date or that date, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you could do that. You know what I mean? Like you could say this day, this person met that person, maybe, but you know, like I said, when you when you making up a religion, you could do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But when you know, we live in every day. So it's like just like it's various brothers that I know, right? I couldn't tell you what day that was I met them. Like it's some people I might could tell you it was at a Medina rally or something like that, right? So then that's gonna put it in summertime, you know, but you don't be thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? Just like, but look, I know people that they recorded it. Like I know at least one person who he waited to get his lessons to his born date so that he got the knowledge on the same day that he physically was born to. But other than that, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking that it was gonna be 40 years down the line. You know what I'm saying? That's you know, I think I manifested that on here before. I really didn't realize that I was writing history until I had kids. Right? And so one day they asked me, right? They like, yo, look, here's my two sons, right? They like, look, we've been, we met the other people in the family and everything, right? And none of them don't have this knowledge. You know what I mean? We go to school, we go to all the various places, right? And nobody else has this knowledge, right? So where you got it from? They asked me that way. And that's when I realized that, yo, wait a minute. All the stuff I was doing, all the stuff I was doing, that was right in history, right? That ended up impacting them. So now, when they go to tell the story or whatever, you know, that's the history. See, like I ask my daughters, and they say, if somebody asks them about being 5%, they just say, yeah, my family's 5%. New Year's 70. He said, how about the date when Allah got shot? Now, why would people use that? Clearly it was already 5% by then. So I don't think that would be you said we don't have a beginning date. Now our beginning date is 1964. What in particular people are saying, is it October 10th? You know what I'm saying? I don't agree that it's October 10th. But 1964 has been, you know, since I had the knowledge, the people that I know that I met, you know, they all the earliest brothers said they had the knowledge in 1964. I'm just saying, look, I have a question. I got a question for y'all, right? What is the difference? Like, do we need a day to have a party or something? I'm not trying to be ridiculous. I'm just saying, like, what is the see? Like, for instance, you said America is July 4th, 1776, right? But that's when they signed the Declaration of Independence. See, there's no document like that. He said, I can't record a date. Lord Supreme sent me my Supreme Mathematics and Supreme Alphabet. G. Colleen sent me the power paper. And G. Malik, now Dr. Baby. Dr. Baby? What kind of name is that? So I remember it was November born culture to April born power while in the belly. You see now look, that's something right there. When you got markers where you can measure the time. But who's Dr. Baby? Is he still does this person still have the knowledge? So I love how the baby's showing the true understanding, showing the knowledge when understanding can be one and the same. Which you talking about yeah. Yeah, I build with them. I gotta start being around Dr. Bahu, all right, yeah. Yeah, I gotta start being around my granddaughter a little bit more. I don't know if she knows. She doesn't now she don't know. Like she hasn't uh like really been outside with me. Like we've been in the house, but we haven't really been outside where, she can see, how I operate. Because see, you be in the house and we could, talk all this stuff, at least from my perspective, right? How I look at it, right? Is that, we could be in the house and I could be telling you all this stuff, right? But we got to go outside and you got to see me operate because I could be bullshit. I can't, I can be bullshit. But for you to really see the signs, for you to really understand, right, why I'm saying that I'm God and you the earth, you gotta come outside with me. So you gotta start getting involved with stuff, right? And then you can see like, oh snap, you know, I should be with I should be with you. This used to move like this. Now that I'm not around you and I'm not using that same signs, it don't move like that no more. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, you just talking. But yeah, I gotta bring her with me so she can, she might have to, uh, you know, the people in that generation, for the people in that generation to know me, right? They gotta, you know, the knowledge of that might have to come through her. You know what I'm saying? Just like right now, certain people, prolific people that was in the nation, that now you got to go to the people who was around them. Say great grandparents, yeah, nah, that's still a level. That's still a level up for me where, I probably make it. If I calm down, if I calm down on some of the things I'll be saying, I probably make it. You know, I feel in good shape. But yes, it's people that got uh mm, I know there's definitely some great, 'great, 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 but there's it's possible there's some great grands. You know what I mean? Multiple generations like that. You know what I'm saying? Where they got the knowledge. You know, and you see people. You know, I still see people like, look, the other day was that was it that was a while ago. But look, somebody's walking past the school, right? And so when they walk past the school, they looking at the school. So I say peace to them, right? And then I say to somebody, I said, you know who that is? And he said, nah. I said, that's Allah's great granddaughter right there. And that's who it was. You know what I'm saying? I see all a lot of people sees, man. People, some of them, I saw them growing up. Some of them that I grew up with. Right. Yeah, back in the days, a lot of people was having their kids young. So most definitely, you got some people that got multiple generations, multiple generations in the nation. People going down south to have kids now. I mean, that was always something, but from a kid perspective, I never really understood that. People was always like, the city is no place to raise kids. You gotta raise them out in the country. But I mean, uh, you know, I most certainly didn't want to be out there. You know what I'm saying? First of all, you know, and second, even I think the days of that, because of the internet and things of that nature, is the days of that is over. Like, it don't matter if you in another country, you know, you still gonna you still gonna get the Disney Channel these days. You know what I mean? And you can kind of see it in just how uh, a lot of regional stuff is disappearing. You know what I'm saying? Like, where even like the slang that people use from region to region was different. The clothes people wear, the accents, what I'm saying, was different from region to region. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so I'm sure there's still some specific rural places where they may not have very good internet access or whatever, but can't call it, man. But I'm down to the nitty gritty on my battery power right here. I thought I had plugged it in. It should have been charging now, but apparently, actually, I could go try to finesse the cord, maybe, perhaps. Let's see. Well, nah, sir. Because don't forget, we coming on tomorrow. Don't forget we on tomorrow, so let's not overkill right now. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but man, see, yeah, you going back, Shaka Nulu, to that's back when it was public shame. that's back. That's back when it was public shame. Guys said you can have no signal and get Disney. They'll find you. You don't find them. Pretty much. You said now is the time when we are knowledge or knowledge culture degree in the alphabets. Now nation to end. Uh, I mean, uh, yes, it's look, this is about the execution. See, that's why it's important, right? That people understand, what I'm saying, the immediacy of things, right? Is that, two things, right? Is when I say it's about the execution, it means all the signs that we got could be the truth. But see, we gotta we gotta live it out. See, the reality could be, look, we could fuck up, right? Listen, we could fuck up. Full stop right there. We could fuck up. And see, I think a lot of times that might be why people think that, the way things was in the past was kind of harsh. Because you're thinking that because you got this knowledge that you've reached the pearly, you've walked through the pearly gates now and everything's gonna be all right. But now we can fuck up, right? And then what can happen is somebody tap into the internet archive, right? In 100 years, 1,000 years, or whatever, right? And they find all the archives of uh, the Law School and Mecca channel, of Sunyez channel, of my channel, et cetera, right? And come to the realization, and then they might be the person to do it in 1,000 years. See, just because you got this knowledge, it don't mean that you can't fuck up. You see what I'm saying? And then see, even when you talk about on a national level, right? Okay, how much of the salvation am I going to see? Meaning, like, if all of this stuff is gonna get built, but it's gonna be built, 50 years after I'm not here. But one of the reasons that might be is if you don't execute in your time. So indeed, the time is now, right, to uh, put put everything into activation. Because look, and it's funny, Shakanulu, Shakanulu. It's funny that you on this particular live stream because I'm about to use a phrase now that comes from the misandry side of YouTube, But look, tomorrow's price is not going to be today's price. People going to have to be prepared for tomorrow's price. See, whatever problems, whatever doesn't get taken care of now, it's going to be more hell to get through it later. That's what I mean by tomorrow's price is not going to be today's price. You see what I'm saying? If whether you talking about positive or negative, you see what I'm saying? If you don't get in and start capitalizing, and preparing yourself now, you're not going to be able to capitalize as much as people who caught on at the foundation. So yeah, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, look, let's say as a nation, right, we was gonna buy some land, right? Let's say we was gonna buy some farmland. The price ain't gonna go down, at least not from what we know right now. You know what I'm saying? Unless something happens with the whole greater economy, the price ain't going down. You know what I'm saying? If you want to teach the young something, their head ain't gonna get no softer than it is right now. You understand what I'm saying? The things that they're gonna be into, right? The death, hell, and destruction that they're gonna bring on themselves and their surroundings. If you don't teach them now, it's just gonna go worse and worse. So indeed, yeah, the time is now. If for no other reason other than that. You see what I mean? Because see, time is infinite, but timing is specific. You got the rest of your life to do certain things, but you only got a window of time to do it to the fullest potential. So with timing, see, like your heart, see, your heart beat over the time of your life, right? That can be 70, 80, 90, 100 years. But see, if the timing fucks up, you understand what I mean? If your heart beat too fast or too slow, the ventricles ain't calibrated. You understand what I mean? With the timing, you could die right there. Yeah, we all got 24 hours in a day. But yeah, some people don't see the urgency, right? Some people don't see the urgency, right, of you know what they got to do in some portions of the day, so they could do what they want to do in other portions of the day. Some people it's not Some people is not aware of, you know, time being a tool. See what I'm saying? That look, that's one of the reasons why society give people so much recreation. Cause they don't want them using that tool. So you start using that tool to educate yourself or something. You start using that tool to start coming together and unifying with other like-minded people. That's detrimental over there. You know, all these is just various, various planes that you know what I'm saying, we move through. A lot of people don't understand. But we down to the nitty gritty over here, 4% on the battery. You know what I'm saying? So actually I needed to test it out too. I ain't really sure yet if it's because I'm riding, dropped my phone off my bike. Who knows? I don't know how I didn't hear it, whatever the case may be. I can't find the phone. I end up having to take it to the lab, finding the phone find my phone. Fortunately, I wasn't that far away. You know what I'm saying? Found it on Find My Phone and it was still over there in the street. I ain't see no tire marks on it. I don't think it got ran over, but the screen I need a new one. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other story. But, so far so good. It appears like it's still working like it's supposed to. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, between time, I'm going to sign off and say peace. And we'll catch each other class time tomorrow.